Hey, Dave Frary here. Welcome to this edition of the Trackside Modeler. In this video, I'm going to show you how I like to paint scenic backgrounds for your model railroad. Here I've started by painting dark blue on the top of the background and a white band on the bottom. In the middle, I mixed the two colors together to get a light blue color. And you'll see here I'm using a paint roller, and all I'm trying to do is blend the white on the bottom into the blue at the top and vice versa, so that we have solid blue at the top, pure white at the bottom, and a middle blue in between. This is just the base over which I'll paint the mountains and the clouds and the rest of the sky. The colors I'm using for the blue backdrop: Benjamin Moore 2B-790 Bayberry Blue, Dutch Boy 13F-5 Bay City Blue, Dutch Boy 14F-5 Roller Coaster Blue, and there are several others which I'll list on the screen here. They're all interchangeable. They're all about the same intensity of blue. The white, of course, is just white indoor flat wall paint. And here I'm just brushing more white onto the bottom of the backdrop using a large house painting brush. And all I'm trying to do is blend the white, pure white, up into the blue above it. Now I've added more white at the bottom. I've actually started to flesh out the hill shapes with pure white. And I've taken a little bit of white and a little bit of blue, and I've mixed them together in a container. And using a 2-inch China bristle brush, I'm just trying to remove some of the marks that were made by the paint roller. I'm stippling the light blue paint on in a random manner, just here and there. And I'll finish it by smoothing it all together with this house painting brush. And all I'm doing, I'm just running it back and forth over the surface just to kind of blend together what I've just stippled in. This takes a little bit of time, but it's well worth it. You'll really get a feel for painting the backdrop. Now I'm putting in the clouds, and as you can see, I'm taking pure white on a 1-inch China bristle brush and just stippling it on. And then when I get an area of a cloud done, I'll take the flat house painting brush and come in and smooth it all together. The house painting brush takes the rough edges off so that everything blends nicely together. This part of the painting, adding all these clouds, is the most time-consuming part of it. I find it very relaxing, but some people think it's a pain. And you'll see here as I'm going along here, the brush gets better and better as more and more paint gets used off it. So when we get nearer the top here, it's almost like dry brushing. It puts in a nice cloud that really looks good in the background. Once the clouds are in place, I added the most distant hills. These are the ones that are farthest away and will be in the very background. And as you can see here, they're made by mixing some sky blue with a lot of the white paint and a little bit of Hooker's green. Hooker's green is just a green acrylic, another green acrylic. There are dozens of them, but Hooker's is the one I like. Another one you can try, if you can't find Hooker's green, is medium green. It'll work just as well. When the paint on the most distant hills dried, I took a can of white spray paint and I just misted some white over the hills just to reduce their intensity. For the next closest hills, I just added more Hooker's green to the blue and white mixture that I had. And for each hill after that, I kept adding more green. Between each hill layer, as they were painted, I sprayed them with a little flat white automotive primer, a little flat white spray paint, just to separate them from each other. The paint also adds a dimensional effect. Because you spray it after you paint on every layer of hills, the first hills you painted get lighter and lighter and recede farther and farther into the background. After I was satisfied that I had enough layers of background hills, I decided to paint the foreground vegetation. And for this, I use the colors black, hooker's green, unbleached titanium white, and green gold. And you can see them lined up here on the palette. Now I can start some serious painting. My palette in this case just is a piece of styrofoam, and I've lined the colors up in the same order that I presented them in the graphic. So what I do, I take a brush, in this case a 1-inch China bristle brush, and I just mix the colors from the palette on the brush, and then they're just daubed on the background. And you can see you really can't make a mistake here. All I'm doing is taking the side of the brush and just pushing the paint onto the background. Now I know that if I pick up more light color or more of a dark color, that one is going to be for the background trees and the other, the lighter color, will be for the highlights, as you'll see here. So now I'm putting some of the darker paint with a little bit of black and green mixed together to make a dark base for the forest. And then I'll go in and I'll pick up some of the lighter colors, the unbleached titanium white, some of the green gold, and I'll create the highlights. And I want the sun to be coming from left to right. So I'm putting the highlights on the left side of the hill, as you can see here. You'll notice that the hills are rather pointy, and I did this for a reason. These hills are going to be behind a tropical model railroad, and I wanted them to look like they were volcanic in origin. So here's our finished backdrop. It's looking pretty good, and you'll find that as you do this, the more practice you get, the better you'll be at it. So this is Dave Frary for the Trackside Modeler. See you next time.